For the guys out there that want to start a business, just a little bit of pointers and little things just to look out for. I know that a lot of people are struggling and they think by just starting their own business, that is the answer to all their problems. That isn't always the case, because there are many factors that you need to take into account. And at the end of the day, you know what your position is right now. And if you make a mistake, you're going to end up with a much, much bigger problem. So just some pointers just to keep it in mind when you're out there looking for the business, and people are showing you figures and they're showing you wonderful turnovers and that. Don't look at the turnovers, look at what the profit is. How much are you actually going to be putting in your pocket? And if you're going to be starting something as well, and look at profit, look at the numbers, look at the investment that you're going to make. If the numbers don't make sense, you really need to, consider maybe not doing it. The other thing is, you have a job and you know what you're earning, for instance, and you know where you are. I've seen so many people just give up that work, run into something to get started. At the end of the day, not being able to pay those house payments, not being able to meet their commitments, to their families, school fees and all that kind of thing. So you need to have a look at those things. You need to make sure that you've taken all of this into account and that it all does make sense for you. Most importantly is that you're going to be sure that you are able to do it, because running your own business means that you're going to have to work much, much harder than working for somebody else. You're the first person to come to work, you're the last person to leave. The other thing is, if you don't understand the numbers, and many people just don't understand numbers, and that's fine, that's what accountants are there for. Take it to an accountant, have somebody look over it. If you don't have an accountant, you can even go and ask for advice from the banks, and that they'll help you. The banks is not in the business of actually seeing people lose their money. They deal with this type of stuff every single day. You could ask to talk to an advisor and just get some sort of advice. And if you've never done this, maybe you should actually first go and work in such a type of business and also just see what it does for you, because at the end of the day, if you end up not enjoying it, you're going to be in trouble. So I always say to people, maybe just go and work somewhere, similar job, or if it's a franchise, ask to work in that franchise and see what it's about. The other thing is that you got to be knowledge enough in what you're actually going into. So many people get into a business, but they have no knowledge. They don't understand it. You got to make sure that you can educate yourself enough to understand it, to become the best at what you can become in that business. And you've got to always be sure that you understand your product. Does it give the correct value? Are you giving value to your client? And most importantly, is it the right product for what you're actually trying to put out there? Because many people have a product and it's just not the right product for that type of market, and they get themselves into trouble. Try to have some cash aside as well to carry you for those 2-3 months that that you're going to be learning and understanding it. And don't listen to what people just tell you, because they just want to do the sale to you. A person just wants to sell the business, or a person just wants to sell the franchise, or a person just wants to sell the concept. Don't believe everything you hear out there. You need to investigate it. You need to understand it. Most importantly, you need to be sure that the numbers make sense. And if they don't make sense, walk away. Because we've seen so many people out of desperation make so many mistakes. Get a second opinion, get a third opinion. Make sure that you are understanding, make sure that you feel comfortable with it. But are you committed enough to go and do it? Are you the type of person now that's going to be working longer hours? And a lot of people think it's 8 to 5. No, having your own business doesn't end. There's always something to worry about, because you have responsibilities, you have people, you have rents, you have commitments, you have so many things that you need to, constantly be aware of. So look at that, be careful of those type of things. Make sure that you do believe in it. Make sure that you've covered all the angles. And another thing that you need to be careful of, you need to understand wherever you might be, in whichever country that you are in, and you need to understand the situation of that country. You need to understand the political situation of that country. So, if we take, for instance, we in our country, there's so much, we're hearing about load shedding, we're hearing about downscale from Moody's, we are hearing, our municipalities are in trouble. So you got to then take all of that into consideration, because that does affect whatever your rollout plan is. Because if you get load shedding and you haven't made provisions for that, if we get downgraded and the market that you've gone into, there are retrenchments, you need to take all that into consideration, because that also affects you. And you got to remember, nobody can predict a 5 years, 6 years from now. So you got to remember that you got to take that. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So be realistic with what the situation is, and take the political situation into account. Take the situation that we have with load sheddings and infrastructures that are having difficulties on that. And if your model makes sense and it works with that, then you're okay. Don't try and make a plan once it's happened. Don't say, I am going to worry about it later, because it just does not work like that. So take that into consideration. And I always say to people, once you've signed, you're in. So ask whatever question. If people don't want to answer the questions, walk away. There are many opportunities out there. The more you look, the more opportunities open to you. So just keep that in mind. Don't believe everything that you hear out there. And they are trying to sell to you. They want to try and take your money. And at the end of the day, you're going into business not to lose money, but to make money. Thanks, everybody. If you're enjoying this, subscribe to our channel. Give us your comments wherever, we can try to help. We're welcome to try and see what we can do for you. And at the end of the day, I talk from experience, because I've been through. I've seen my backside. I have hit rock bottom. I've had to stand up again, and I've believed people that have ended up costing me so much. So I don't want to see this happen to anybody else, and that is why I'm telling you what I am telling you. There are many opportunities out there. Don't just take the first one. Ask those questions. Make sure that they make sense. If they don't make sense, go and ask somebody to help you figure it out. And remember, your time is valuable. You can't end up working for nothing. Cheers, everyone.